Hello everybody, I'm Kat, and I'm unhauling some books today. I filmed a few of these before in the past. I think I've only done 2 though. And I think the last unhaul I did was filmed like a year ago. I think I uploaded it maybe at the beginning of this year. I can't remember. I haven't filmed an unhaul in about a year now, and I was looking at my shelf and I was just kind of going through it because I already picked off a few books that I had read or like started reading that I wanted to get rid of. And then the other day I was just looking at it and I realized there are a lot of books on here that I kind of want to get rid of, either because I have lost interest in them or I read them in the past and I don't see myself rereading them, or I didn't really like them when I read them. The books I am donating today I plan on giving back to my school, so they will go straight to my school library where readers will find them and hopefully enjoy them. Please don't be offended if your favorite book of all time is in this pile. I don't want to offend anybody. Most of the books here are books I actually haven't read and I've just lost interest in reading, but there are a few books in here that I've read or I've DNF'd. So without further ado, I'm just gonna get into the unhaul. So the first book I have here is Scarlett Epstein Hates It Here by Anna Breslaw. I started reading this back in February, I think, and I was supposed to read it for Contemporary-thon earlier this year, and I got about, I think, I still have my bookmark in here. Yeah, I got to page 84 and I just had to DNF it. I didn't like the characters. I didn't like anything that was happening in this book. Honestly, I just did not really enjoy reading this book. I only read up to page 84 and I had enough. This was a DNF for me and I really want it off of my shelves because it makes me unhappy. The next book I have here is Emergency Contact by Mary H.K. Choi. I read this about a year ago now and I think I gave it like 3.5 stars, and I still stand by that. Personally, I don't ever see myself rereading this book. I don't really have a need to keep a physical copy on my shelf because I didn't really love it. I just kind of thought it was meh, so I'm gonna get rid of this. Next, I have Queens of Geek by Jen Wilde. I read Queens of Geek a few years ago and I thought it was cute. I think I gave it like 4 stars. I don't see myself ever picking this back up again and rereading passages from it, so again, I'm going to donate it. The next books I'm actually going to donate is a full trilogy, and that is the Starbound trilogy by Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner. This series was really popular in BookTube when I first joined, and so I of course bought the whole trilogy because I am that person, and I honestly have zero desire to read it at this point. Sci-fi isn't really a genre I reach for, and while I was excited about reading it at some point, it's just been too long to feel that excitement anymore, so I'm getting rid of it. Next, I'm getting rid of Rainbow Rowell's Kindred Spirits. Well, first of all, Rainbow Rowell sucks, and second of all, I don't really like her books, and also this book is like weirdly tiny and it fits weirdly on my shelf and I kind of want to get rid of it. The next book I'm unhauling is On the Fence by Casey West. This is another book I was kind of bittersweet about donating because I own the majority of Casey West books, but I have gotten rid of a few in the past, so I decided to just cut ties with On the Fence. I read this one, I think like 2 years ago now for BookTubeathon, before it was the Reading Rush, and I thought it was okay. My personal relationship with Casey West novels has either been I think they're cute and just a fun read, or I really don't like them. And this book kind of fell in between where I didn't necessarily hate it, but I didn't really love it. The next book I'm getting rid of is How to Be Bad by E. Lockhart, Lauren Miracle, and Sarah Malinowski. I actually bought this book because growing up, Lauren Miracle was actually one of my favorite authors, and she's a horrible person. So I don't need that kind of negativity on my shelf, and you know, thank you for the memories. I don't need your books on my shelf anymore. The next book I am getting rid of is The Names They Gave Us by Emery Lord. Despite the fact that this edition has such a beautiful cover, I really don't want to read a book about like loss and grief. That's really sad. I honestly don't ever see myself picking this up in the future either. If I haven't read it by now, then I'm never gonna read it. The next book I'm getting rid of is Windfall by Jennifer E. Smith. This is another one where I've just lost interest in reading. Don't really see myself picking it up anytime soon. The next book I'm getting rid of is We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. I read this book, I want to say about a year ago, and I really didn't like it. I think I gave it like 3 stars. In reality, it's probably more of a 2. Unpopular opinion, but I didn't really like this book. Next, I'm getting rid of I Believe in a Thing Called Love by Maureen Gu. I actually have not read this one, but I read Maureen Gu's other book, The Way You Make Me Feel. I read that a few years ago and I absolutely hated that book. And ever since then, it's kind of made me hesitant to pick up Maureen Gu's other books. And this one I've heard get mixed reviews, so I'm just gonna get rid of it. The next book I'm getting rid of is When We Collided by Emery Lord. This is another book where I've just lost interest in reading. This was really popular on BookTube, kind of like a few years after I started my channel, so I bought it with the hype, and I, again, don't see myself reading it because if I was really interested in reading it, I would have read it by now. The next book I'm getting rid of is the UK edition of I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson. I actually own the US paperback edition, and random fact about this book, but I actually won both of these editions in giveaways. I don't really like this edition personally because it's kind of smaller than the US paperback, and I like the US paperback cover more than this one, and honestly, I don't need 2 copies of a book I haven't read yet on my shelf. Next, I'm getting rid of The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee because Mackenzie Lee sucks, and also I don't plan on reading this book. Next, I'm getting rid of A List of Cages by Robin Rowe. This is another one where I've just lost interest in reading, and if I was really interested in reading it, I would have read it by now. This is, interestingly enough, another book I wanted to give away. I won like a giveaway of like 6 books a few years ago. I think I've gotten rid of most of the books in that box. The next 2 books I'm getting rid of are My Lady Jane and My Play Jane by the Lady Janies. This is another series where if I was really interested in it, I would have read it by now. I do own My Lady Jane on audio, so if I ever feel like reading it, I can just listen to it. I don't know, I've lost interest in reading it, and even though I think the 3rd book just came out, I don't really feel the need to go out and pick it up, because I haven't read these 2 and I don't really want to. And finally, the last book I have here should be no surprise to anyone who watched my wrap up last week, and that is Alex Approximately by Jen Bennett. I genuinely hate this book so much, so I don't need it on my shelf anymore. Anyway, those are the books that I'm getting rid of. Let me know down below if you've unhauled any books recently. If you have, let me know if you have any opinions on these books and if it was worth unhauling any of them. But that is it for this video. If you like it, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I post videos on Thursdays, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!